Ahead of what will, at the time of recording, be next week's ACI 60th World Congress in association with the Full FX, myself, Colin Lambert, the co-founder and publisher of the Full FX, is in conversation with Clinton Norton, who's head of sales for the Americas for Euronext FX. Clinton, great to catch up with you ahead of our panel next week. There's obviously, our panel is about the change in liquidity paradigm, and a lot of a big aspect of that change is the trading environment. And Euronext FX has taken some steps announced some steps in the last few weeks. Can you maybe run me through how you're reacting and how you're evolving? Thanks, I guess, to where this all started was the update to the FX Global Code.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. Thank you for having me. It's awesome. Definitely look forward to participating in the in next week's event. So in terms of the code, there's obviously we're all for it. Fairness, additional liquidity, being an open market. What we think is key to this openness is real transparency. So to promote the code, first we wanted to take a look at what our composition was in terms of liquidity providers. So we roped in our quant research team at Euronext to take a look at a number of things: the market share, the difference in spreads that code signatory and non-code signatory liquidity providers are providing, the markouts, the reject rates, the timing of the rejects, right? Is it in a moving market or not? But most importantly is the slippage, the expected slippage. And what we found is that code signatories provide better liquidity in just about all those categories. But if you look at specific taker sessions, about 20% of the takers in our study actually have better expected slippage from non-code signatory liquidity providers, and that varies even more if you drill down by pair. Euros is I think it's like under like single digits where the non-code outperformed the code signatory guys, but in EM it's 29%. So that tells us that you really want to watch what you do, and you want to what we wanted is to ultimately give a choice to our takers, and but the choice backed by data. So what we've decided to do is to starting in January 2023 to default our liquidity pools for our takers to code signatory liquidity providers only, but also give the option for our takers to opt out. And the option we feel should be driven by data. So for that, it's an interesting timing. This week we actually came out with our enhanced data reporting, so what we call our taker reports, where we break down further the liquidity from the makers for each of those takers for each of those sessions, and we look at round trip times. We break down the round trip times by fills and by rejects, and we also, for every session, we give the code signatory status of those liquidity providers. That will allow our takers to make I'd say, data-driven choice as to where to go for their liquidity. Right now, what we had done prior to those reports coming out is, of course, to allow code-only liquidity pools for our takers. We also allowed liquidity providers to choose to not compete in pools where non-code signatory LPs were there, and now we're going to step further, and we're breaking down the data on a per tag basis and breaking it down further by groups of currencies, G10 and EM, and even by currency pair. So that we feel the choices should be left to the taker to decide where they want to interact. But yet we want to promote the code. That's why we've decided to default to it. So if the takers decide not to, I'd say, exercise their option to retain those non-code participants. In terms of
it's interesting actually. Sorry, it's interesting just on that point though that it's not such a binary outcome as you would think it would be. There clearly needs to be some degree of flexibility in how you actually build your liquidity streams across pairs and time of day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we looked at this this important stat, which is the expected slippage, which is basically the cost of execution for a taker. In our emerging market pairs, I mean, the 29% of those are outperformed. The non-code signature outperformed the code signature. So that's a pretty high percent. So and that tells us that, well, who are those liquidity providers in those EM pairs? And they tend to be these niche liquidity providers that are not necessarily your tier one banks that everybody expects to have signed on to the code. What we felt is code and non-code is not binary. To your point, it's it really needs to. It doesn't mean if you haven't signed, it could mean that. I mean, you've seen the code, right? It's like a 70-page report. It takes to comply to that. You got to really have your legal, your compliance. I know it's not legal, it's not enforced, but still, you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. So
the only thing I would say is I've seen some regulatory documents in my time. It could be a lot worse than 70 pages.
Yeah. So those and it's interesting. So we're starting to those taker reports. Those reports came out, and we're starting to have a number of interactions with our clients, and we've had mixed decisions, meaning that depending on what this percentage of code or non-code is, well, some may say, hey, you know what, might as well default all to the guys that have signed on to the code because I mean, I don't want to actually worry about it. But further, even those that have signed on, there's a big disparity amongst the round trip times and the fill ratios, and so there's even if you just pick one pool, you still want to make your own decisions as to who you want to interact with, based on a number of criteria that may be important to you. So we feel we don't want to force anything. We want to make choices available, but we also want to give the functionality for our clients to be able to make those choices.
Yeah.
And I'd say one I did want to add in terms of technology, we have. You probably know our smart order router is called Flex Match, right? So and because it's pretty flexible, we've added this year or a few months ago a fourth component to the matching prioritization, where we've added max hold times, which we feel is an important criteria because it gives you the concept of how bad could round trip times get in times when you really need it. So the components we have, of course, after price, we match on fill ratios, on RTTs, on markouts, and we've now added this max hold time, which is I feel an important criteria for the global FX code, because we know their stance on additional hold times. So wanted to add that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an interesting. We're at a fairly early stage of the evolution around how we actually respond to this updated FX global code, in terms of platforms and sort of last look filter rates and stuff like that. Clinton, thanks for your time today in filling us in. Brief update on what Euronext FX is doing there. To our viewers, you can catch Clinton on our changing liquidity paradigm panel, part 1, which is at 11 p.m. on Thursday in Paris. There's a few seats just available, but there are strictly just a few seats. Clinton, great talking to you today, and I will see you next week as we're recording this.
I look forward to it, Colin. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Cheers.